We all go through phases where we're very motivated to ride our bikes. The problem is though that it never lasts very long, and that's because motivation alone is nothing more than a cheap trick that might look impressive at first, but it quickly loses all of its magic once you start looking behind the curtain. For long-term consistency, you need something far more reliable. Tell me if this sounds familiar. One day you're there planning all of these epic rides, convinced that you're going to become some kind of born-again Tadej Pogacar, but then a week later your bike's just sitting there looking at you like an abandoned puppy. What the fudge happened? If that's the case, and we all know it is, I'm going to show you how to build cycling motivation that doesn't fizzle out after a couple of days. No gimmicks, no just push through it, Billy Big Banana bollocks, just practical advice that really works. I'm going to reveal why motivation alone isn't enough, and I'll give you some hacks that will make getting on the bike easier, even on the days when you'd rather be wrapped up in a blanket eating biscuits. The problem is that motivation is like patchy Wi-Fi at a cafe. It comes and goes and usually disappears right at the moment you need it most. Think about the last time you were really fired up. Maybe you just watched a motivational YouTube video, or you just said to yourself, right, that's it, I'm going out cycling every day. But then fast forward a couple of days and it's cold outside and your bed's extra comfortable, and suddenly that commitment has mysteriously disappeared. So what's the solution? Well, I would say you need to stop relying on motivation and start building habits instead. You don't wake up every morning feeling motivated to brush your teeth, do you? You do it because it's a habit. And cycling should be the same. The more you rely on routine, the less you rely on motivation to get going. One of the easiest ways to do this is to set a non-negotiable cycling schedule. So even if you only go out for a short ride, commit to doing it at the same time every day or every other day, or whatever works for you. No thinking, no debating, just habit. It should be like your morning mug of tea. Something that just happens. Every cyclist on the planet knows that the hardest part of any ride is simply getting out the front door. And that's because the harder something is to start, the less likely you are to do it. Imagine this, you're waking up and you're planning on going for a ride. But before you do, you've got to find your cycling kit, pump your tyres up, charge your cycling computer, and decide what route you're going to do. And before you know it, you're in a bad mood and it's all a bit of a ball ache. This is what I call death by decision fatigue. But luckily, the solution is deceptively simple. All you need to do is make cycling stupidly easy to start. And you can do that by having all of your cycling gear in one place, checking the bike the night before, having a go-to route so you don't have to think too much, and then lowering the barrier for entry. So don't tell yourself you're doing a long, hard 50-kilometer ride. Just tell yourself that you're going out for a quick 10-minute spin. It's like tricking yourself. You say to your brain, yeah, it's not going to be too bad. But then when you're out and actually on the ride, enjoying yourself, you're likely to ride a whole lot further. Many of us start cycling thinking to ourselves, I'll get fit, I'll lose weight, and I'll feel amazing. But then at some point, reality kicks in and you're not losing the weight as fast as you would like, and you're still being dropped on the climbs. And suddenly, sitting on the sofa watching Love Island seems far more appealing than actually going out and riding your bike. The problem here is that having just one reason isn't enough. You need multiple reasons to ride. So maybe try riding for fun, exploring new roads, discovering new cafes, or just enjoying the weather. Or maybe you could ride for therapy. Riding a bike is like stress relief on two wheels. Many of your problems will seem a whole lot smaller when you're out enjoying yourself on the bike. Or maybe ride for social reasons, make new friends, meet up with old ones, or simply use it as an excuse to get out the house before her indoors inevitably finds you some more jobs to do. I once knew someone that started cycling specifically so they could enjoy a few extra pints of beer completely guilt-free. Whatever works for you, really. If you ever need proof that accountability works, just think about this. Let's imagine that you've arranged to meet one of your cycling chums for a ride. Even if it's raining sideways, you're going to somehow manage to drag yourself there. Yet, if it's just you by yourself, then suddenly that weather forecast becomes an absolute deal breaker. So why not use this psychology to your advantage? Why not actually arrange a ride with your cycling chum? It's far harder to let somebody else down. Maybe you could sign up for an event. It's going to give you something to work towards. Or possibly even give yourself a reward. So no ride, no coffee stop, no long ride, no fancy slice of cake. It's as simple as that. Or better still, why not announce your ride on social media and then invite people to join you? Nobody likes looking like a muppet on Facebook. One of the biggest motivation killers is feeling like you're not improving. But here's the thing, you are improving, you just don't realise it. Do you ever look back at your early rides? Maybe you remember that the first 10 kilometres felt so hard, it was like riding up Mont Ventoux, whereas these days, yeah, that's just your warm-up. Progress is the same. All you need to do is track it. And you can do that using something like a simple ride log. So maybe use Strava or good old-fashioned pen and paper. Maybe you can start giving yourself some tiny goals. So say to yourself that you're going to ride a particular climb 5 seconds faster, or add an extra kilometre to your regular route. Or simply you can just look back and see how far you've come. It's a bit like looking at old photos of yourself from the 1980s. You thought you looked good then, but what about now? Yeah, that mullet and shell suit tell a different story, don't they? Progress is the same. You don't know how far you've come until you compare it to where you started. Honestly, stop waiting for motivation. It's unreliable and it's flakier than a cheap croissant. Instead, start forming new habits. Make things easy. Find multiple reasons. Stay accountable and start tracking your progress. Motivation is great, but consistency is king. The more you do something, the easier it becomes. So just focus on showing up. I believe there's always something new to learn that can make our cycling even better. And that's why I've created my own free monthly newsletter. I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to sign up. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.